Alright folks, got the 10400F installed into the motherboard. We're going to go ahead and lock it up and put the nasty as stock Intel cooler on that. Whee! What's up guys, welcome back to Tank Top Tech. Right before the holidays, a friend reached out to me and asked me to help him on a PC build. He had a strict budget of 1,000 Canadian, which is roughly 800 USD. His pre-built PC from the Stone Age was on its last limb. He said, "Wah, I want to play Cyberpunk. Wah, my 750 Ti doesn't rasterize anymore. Wah, my CPU doesn't process well. Wah, my DDR3 is slow. Wah." So after all the wah session, I agreed to help him out and build his PC. It was chef's choice on the parts, and with an $800 budget and extremely low availability of parts before the holidays, this became harder than I imagined. In the end, PC Part Picker helped me determine what was in stock for the lowest price, and I was able to put together a decent 1080p PC with above average aesthetics. The parts consisted of an Asus H410M Micro-ITX motherboard, an EVGA 500W PSU 80 plus bronze, a ZOTAC GTX 1660 Super 6GB GPU, an Intel i5-10400F 6-core 12-thread processor, a Western Digital 500GB M.2 SSD, 16GB of 3200MHz DDR4 from Viper, and the Azza Luminous 101 Micro-ITX case. Friendo's game list consisted of World of Warships, SnowRunner, and Cyberpunk. None of these games pose any issues at 1080p Ultra, although Cyberpunk will require some sort of tweaking within the settings. With the current state of the game, it may just sit on the back burner anyway. I'm sorry that I don't have any benchmarks, but believe me, the system will run just about anything at 1080p Ultra, especially when my friend's monitor maxes out at 60 frames per second anyway. Now we'll pop into some highlights during the build that either impressed me or annoyed me. Slight tiny problem here. Azza was very nice to include a exhaust fan, which is pre-installed. However, there's no intake fan whatsoever. So we're gonna have to give one to Friendo, even though it wasn't in the budget, because we have lots of extra fans. I could just install a 120 here or maybe a 140, and that should provide sufficient airflow for getting some free-flowing air inside the case. I mean, we don't need any crazy cooling system here, but you do want to get some fresh air coming in from the front and exhausting out from the back. Generally, everything is installed except for the GPU. Everything looks clean and tidy back here, or rather, front exhaust fan is installed, and we've got an intake fan installed. Looks a bit restrictive in the front, but should be able to get some fresh air in there at least. We're not dealing with any crazy high-end components here, so I don't think there's going to be any issues with thermals inside this case. If anything, we do have a relatively decent section here where we're going to be able to get maybe another fan up here, and if the customer wants to go to water cooling at some point, there's adequate room here for a radiator support system. So that being said, the last thing left is pretty much to get all this tangled spiderweb nonsense in order. It's going to take a bit of MacGyvering, you know, running some of these things with some nice cable ties and running these together alongside here, and we should be able to get that looking pretty clean. So So guys, working with the Azza Luminous 101 case, I mean, pretty nice case for the price point, $40 Canadian, $32, $33 American. Absolutely fantastic, easy to work with. The case has lots of room. I had no issues with cable management, video card fitment. I mean, I'll post some links down below in the comments. You shouldn't have any problem fitting any large graphics cards in there. It's a Micro-ITX board supported case, so putting in small boards, small form factor, doesn't take up much room, as you can see. I mean, it's fantastic. It's not too big. It's just overall like really good case for the price point. Where you will run into some issues if you're running, like I said, higher end hardware. So you might have some issues with airflow because you really don't have a lot of intake on the case. You have some slits that are open all along the case where air is sucked in through that fan. But you do have some options here as an intake as well. You could mount fans as an intake here, as I showed you. And there is a dust filter here, so you shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll post a link of all the hardware that I used in this build. It is a budget build, but it's going to run all the games that my friend wants, and it's going to be good enough for Cyberpunk as well because it is a GTX 1660 Super, so perfectly good processor, 10400, 6 cores, 12 threads, 16 gigabytes of RAM. It's going to run the games fine. He's going to have no problems for years to come, and worst case scenario, you can upgrade the CPU. The motherboard has another generation of life left in it, and the video card is very easy to upgrade. So I hope you liked the video, guys. If you enjoyed everything you saw, please give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.